Can you talk a bit about that and like what we titled this, turn it up when that occurs?
Yeah.
Like how to change it with that, because that's really different.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. So what you want to realize is, for a lot of people, they think judgment equals love. Okay? Like, how many things did your parents judge you for as a way of trying to make you a better person? Which is why I say this shit just doesn't work. But we're questioning it, but very few other people are. Most people don't realize that it doesn't work. People are still just trying to get it right, which is a judgment. Okay? So you have your family, for example. Most people's families judge them, especially if you're one of those neon sheep that Miss Emily likes to talk about. Okay? You know, if you're one of those neon sheep that just does not fit in and you don't know how to fit in, what happens is you get judged for not fitting in. But that not fitting in, all the people that have changed the world did not fit in, and they were willing to not fit in, and they couldn't and wouldn't put themselves in a box by judging themselves and buying other people's judgments about them. So what do you want to do? Create more of the same crappy world of idiocracy that we have right now? Or stand above it and be able to navigate it in a totally different way and actually be something that is the difference of you that actually changes the world by starting to enjoy the gift that your difference is. So just because your family judged you doesn't mean they were right, okay? And just because anybody judges you doesn't mean they're right. But we think if anybody judges us, it means they're right and we're wrong. What? Everything that is times a gazillion. Right, wrong, good and bad, pop, call, good voice. That's something called the clearing statement, by the way, which is also in the book, or you can go to that website. You're so fast. Okay, but it's a way of changing anything. But here's the thing, most of the people listening to this conversation are the people that truly desire to keep judging aren't going to listen to this conversation. Let me tell you how somebody who's really judgmental would approach this particular conversation. They would have heard the first 3 minutes and gone, oh my god, fucking weirdo, and left. Okay? Why? Because they're not interested in changing it. And, okay, I don't care. That's their life. It's just, we also share the planet with a lot of those people. It'd be really nice someday if this was able to change. But the only way it's going to be able to change is those few of you that actually desire something different, choosing something different, going, you know what? Starting today, I'm gonna judge myself less. Okay? Starting today, I'm going to judge myself less. And if you think about the top 3 things you've been judging yourself for, you want to, what I would suggest, write down the top 3 things maybe 4 things you've been judging yourself for. And ask yourself, who did I buy this from? Where or who did I buy this from? And where or who did I get this from? And if you can start to recognize that we learn to judge. When kids come in, they don't judge. They don't know how. It's not until about 8 years old that they learn that they're different than other people and that they should make things right and make things wrong. But they don't judge. That's why we love being around babies, because they're like, hi! Oh, you're a man, you're a woman, you're black, you're white, you're brown, you're green, you're yellow, you're a dog, you're a bird, hi! You know? What if we could be a lot more like that? Goodness. And I tell you, it's funny, because anytime we label something with judgment, you know, like we put judgment in the word. So in the face of judgment, turn it up. What is that? It always makes you less. It never makes you greater. And if you recognize that, then one of the other things you want to recognize is the way to eliminate people's judgment of you is by turning it up when they judge you. Now, what do I mean? Because we've all been taught we're supposed to turn it down.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, but like I said before, that lets the person judging know that they were right and you're wrong, see? And then they'll judge you more. And realize, somebody who judges is just someone who judges. Doesn't mean they're right, but it also doesn't mean that whatever they're judging you for is actually real or true. People judge others to try to control them. So how many people have judged you to try to control you? And everywhere you bought their judgments as real and true and something you had to deal with, we destroy and uncreate it, please.
Yeah.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys, and beyonds. So if we look at that, then if they're trying to control you, the one thing that works is turning it up and not being controlled. Because if they realize they can't control you with their judgments, well, then their judgment has no power over you. They'll move on to somebody else, move out of your life, or actually change. I was doing a session on a woman in New Zealand many, many years ago. And I do this work called ESB, Energetic Synthesis of Being, and it's energetic work. There's no way to describe it. You know, people would try to call it energy work, but it's more like work that actually gives you access to your being and your body simultaneously. And so I was working on this woman, and I'm not touching her, and her body is writhing on the table. And I was like, whoa, this is amazing. And it had a very wonderfully joyful component to it. And it was almost like joyfully orgasmic. Okay. Now, you want to talk about a word that brings up judgment? Orgasm, 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 orgasm. You know, that word brings up so much judgment. And one of the things I've learned is, wow, this is very interesting. One of the things I've learned, I just had an awareness of an energy of people where they turn it down based on judgment. But so anyway, we may get to that, we may not. But so orgasm has such a wonderful energy to it. And what I found is the things that are the most harshly judged are the things that will set you free the most. What do I mean by set you free? Set you free to have choice, set you free to enjoy your life, set you free to not be controlled by other people, set you free to not be controlled by the limited reality. Energy go through her body. Now, in New Zealand, they're very, don't even know how you put it, but let's just say orgasmic energy is not a valuable product. In fact, it is something to be judged out of existence, okay? Not everybody, but a lot of people, okay? And so we were in the back of a class that my friend Gary was facilitating at the time. And we're in the back, and I'm working on her on a table. Our clothes are on, okay? This wasn't like touchy-touchy. I wasn't touching anything. What was unlocking was an awareness of an energy she used to have when she was a kid that she had shut off a long time ago, which she had asked me to help her undo something that she couldn't get to because she really wanted to be happy. I said, if you could have anything out of the session, what would it be? She said, I want to really be me, everything I am and everything I've been hiding. I want to stop hiding. And everything I've been holding on to that's a wrongness in me, I want to get rid of it. And I was like, okay. So when we do this stuff, the energy just goes. And so she is making all kinds of noise on the table. And it sounds like she's having a friggin' orgasm. You know, people are turning their heads to look back. And so what happened was, and this is great, I love bringing it up on the Zoom, especially when brand new people are going to see this, because it'll bring up all their judgments. And then the question is going to be, do they continue on and find out what this is about? Or do they turn it off right now to prove that the judgments they had before they got here are right? And then the beauty of that is if they go, oh my God, I can't believe he gave a woman an orgasm on a table. It's like, I didn't give her an orgasm. I unlocked her orgasm. I didn't touch her. Okay? But if they do that, then they have a reason to separate, see? And then I'm wrong and I'm bad. And I'm all kinds of other terrible things. And then they're right for holding on to a limited world. Okay? Because somebody could hear this, and a lot of people watching it right now are hearing it going, ooh, that sounds interesting. I didn't know you could do that, right? And so you can go beyond your judgments to expand your world, but what most people do is they choose to hold on to their judgments to keep their world small and predictable so they can still be right. Because it's so vital to be right here, which is the answer to your question of before, why do people do this all the time? Because the most vital thing people have in their worlds is they must be right and not wrong. And the other most vital thing that they have is that they are wrong, so they must try to get to right from wrong. This is all judgment. This is all inventions, okay? Total inventions. None of this stuff is inherent in any other part of the universe except in people on this planet. The animals on this planet don't have it. The plants don't have it. The birds, the trees, the oceans, the houses. Nothing except the two-legged idiots walking around on this planet have judgment. And we think, therefore we are. And we think our thinking makes us superior to animals. Except I've never seen a truly unhappy animal unless it was taking it out of its owner. Like, have you ever seen an unhappy horse? The only time I've ever seen an unhappy horse is when their owner put that crap on them. Unhappy dog? No, except when the owner's unhappy. You see what I'm saying? So the rest of the universe doesn't function from this, and we function from it as though it makes us superior. No, it makes us inferior. It makes us inferior to all the conscious animals, plants, trees, everything else that's out there. And what it does is it separates us from the world. What an insanity. We would rather walk around in a tiny separate world, maintaining the rightness of our fixed points of view and our judgments, than to let those fixed points of view and judgments go and have a sense of connection with everything. This is what destroys the sense of connection with everything. This is also what's going on a larger scale in the world right now, with all of our "it matters what color you are." Now, I'm grateful for the awareness that is being brought to this, okay? I'm so grateful for the awareness that occurred with the Me Too movement. I'm so grateful for the awareness that is occurring with Black Lives Matter, and hopefully every color of life matters, okay? I'm hoping we get there eventually someday. But people, because they function from this wall of judgment without even realizing it, and that's the other thing, if you talk to somebody about that they're functioning from judgment, they're like, "Oh my God, you're judging me." It's like, no, I'm just trying to point this out because it's where you have the limitation. So if you didn't have that anymore, you could change it. By the way, you could change judgment. You don't have to do it. If you didn't have that anymore, life would be so much lighter and so much happier. That's the only reason I'm pointing it out. I'm not making you wrong. I'm just pointing this out that this is there. And people are like, "You're judging me." And it's like, people always accuse others of what they themselves are doing. So we have a world with this whole judgment thing. People could choose to, instead of judging something, ask themselves, if I embrace this instead of separate from it with my judgment, what will my life be like in 5 years? See, and that's the interesting part, okay? So the people that are watching this are basically the seekers of the world, okay? You don't come to Access when you want to be normal and like everybody else, because Access is so different, and it's so wonderful and amazing and weird to people. But the original meaning of weird was of spirit, fate, or destiny. But a lot of people are like, "I don't want to be weird, I want to be normal." And I'm like, yeah, but look at who normal is. Normal is all the unhappy people walking out there thinking they don't have choice in their life. Do you really want to be normal? What's the value of being normal other than you can be as unhappy as everybody else? So anyway, there's the invitation to possibly let go of judgment, but now I'm going to tell you my story about orgasm. No.
They're like, finish the story.
I know. One of the rare times I'm actually going to get back to the story, okay? So this energy is going through her body, and people are turning around, and she's just letting it go, and she's so happy. She's like giggling. It sounds like she's having a laughing orgasm, okay? And I was like, whoa. And what happened was, so the energy goes up, and it was so interesting to perceive this in the room. So, because everybody in the room was here, it wasn't a huge room at that time, okay? So her energy went up, and it was like, whoa, this is amazing. And it was so much fun, and it was so much play, and it was so like you could feel her being like a little kid again, where she didn't have to judge anything, right? However, I was aware of the room's energy of judgment rising. And so her energy rose, the judgment rose. Her energy rose, the judgment rose. Her energy rose, the judgment rose. And it got to a certain point where I was like, oh my God, I need to stop this, because if I keep going, it's going to be terrible for Gary trying to facilitate, because he's going to have so many walls of judgment to deal with. Because what happens is, look at it. Anytime you tap into one judgment, there's a whole universe that you get tapped into automatically, which is not fun to deal with when you're facilitating people to try to bring them to possibilities. So what I did was I sort of like slowed down the energy dynamically, and then I kind of just encapsulated it so nobody would so nobody would like judge her or judge the situation or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I felt really heavy from the moment that I did that. Okay, that was me turning it down in the face of people's judgments. So I felt really heavy. I talked to Gary that night, and I said, Gary, I need your help, please. And I told him what happened. And I said, I've been stuck ever since. I feel like I'm walking concrete right now. And he said, why did you turn it down? And I said, because I could perceive the judgment rising in the room. I mean, it was palpable. People were like, you know? And so I didn't want you to have a difficult class having to deal with all their judgments. He said, in the face of judgment, always turn it up. And I was like, what? You could do that? I mean, this is an eye-opener for me, which is obviously why we created this particular conversation, this book club. Okay, this one. And so he said that, and my whole world went, and I was like, oh my God, I didn't know you could do that. Oh my goodness. And I looked back at all the times I turned myself down based on people's judgments, thinking that was the appropriate response, or would get them to stop judging, or they'd stop abusing, or stop harassing, or be happy or something, right? None of which ever happened. So he said this, and it made me so much lighter. And so I went back to class the next morning, and I said, hey, how you doing? She's like, I don't know. She's like, the session, like at the beginning, it was so great. I felt like I was getting what I was asking for. It was amazing. And then I feel stuck. I feel like I've just been stuck all night long. Like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. And I said to her, I'm like, that was not you, my dear. You did nothing wrong. I told her what happened, and I talked about the energy of it. She went, oh my God, that makes so much sense. I said, would you do me a favor, please? She said, sure. I said, can I gift you another session? I said, that this time, when the walls of judgment rise, let's just keep turning it up, okay? If you want to scream at the top of your friggin' lungs, if that's what you feel like you want to do, just go for it. I said, but neither one of us is going to turn it down, even if everybody else wants to kill us, okay? I said, let's play. And she went, bring it, right? So she lays down on the table. It takes me almost 10 minutes to get her out of the concrete that she was in from the night before based on me turning it down in the face of judgment. So after that, it started again, and about 5 minutes after that, it got to the place where it was the day before, and it started increasing even more. So once again, her energy rises, the judgment rises. Her energy rises, the judgment rises. Her energy rises, the judgment rises. And there was a certain point at which the judgment rose, and I whispered in her, I'm like, can you feel it? Can you feel their judgment? She's like, yeah. I'm like, fuck it. And we just kept going. And so the judgment went, and her energy went, and there was a point at which it just went, and all the judgment blew out of the entire room. Like, nobody could think, nobody could judge anything. It was amazing. The next day and a half of class were the most phenomenal day and a half that had been facilitated ever since I'd been in Access. And Gary said, oh my God, don't know what you did back there, but whatever you did, keep doing it, because this is changing things for people. And I was like, whoa. And it was so bizarre. It gave me this, like, I got this energetic awareness that when we turn it up in the face of judgment, we might be the only people that even have the awareness or the capacity to, but we might change a whole room full of people. We might change a world full of people by being us. And that's really what being us is and what it has the capacity for. So, all of you out there, everywhere you've been making judgment right, making you wrong, making you right, making judgment wrong, making you judging wrong, making you judging right, making other people judging right, making other people judging wrong, and making your awareness of other people's limitations and their greatnesses into a judgment. And everywhere you just bought into all the programming of all this crap, everything you've done to make yourself less in the face of judgment instead of turning it up, and you destroy it and uncreate it, please. Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys, and beyond. It's really funny in tapping into the energy, and tapping into exactly this energy. I was kind of doing that without even realizing it. I was like turning myself down. I like it. Yes, turn you up now. Yeah. And the thing is, it's not the concluded, right, superior you. It's the you. The hi. Because, like, in that situation, it's a great example. We weren't using any force. We weren't doing anything against anybody. We were being the possibilities for everybody. And it was amazing when you don't deny your possibilities. And every judgment is a denial of your possibilities, okay? When you don't deny your possibilities and when you don't give them up, the world around you changes to support them.
Which is amazing, because if you think of that room, you have all sorts of different people in there, like with all sorts of judgments, and it's just that choice.
Yeah, just the choice, our choice to be that. And I will be forever grateful to that beautiful lady for being willing to go, yeah, you know what? I'm tired of living my life under the yoke of other people's judgments. I'm tired of the unhappiness. I'm tired of not liking myself. I'm tired of feeling like I'm wrong all the time for being anything that's different than other people want me to be.
Yeah.
I'll say probably a lot of people watching this can relate to that. And it's not forced. It's, you know, in the face of, there's one of the things that occurs in this journey is there's these different stages that occur when you start to realize that you don't have to be the effect of judgment. So, you know, you start, before you realize that, you're sort of like the effect. You're like, oh my God, please stop judging me now. It hurts. Or I'll do anything you want. Just stop judging me. You know, and you can bend, fold, staple, and mutilate yourself. And then usually after you realize you don't have to have it, and there's a different choice, usually then what most people do is like, fuck you and your judgments. Don't fucking judge me. You know, which got a little bit of force there, Bob. You know what I mean? And then the next stage that people usually get to is, if they keep going, what that transforms into is, okay, you can judge me. It's all right. Hi. I'm not going to change myself because of your judgments, but I'm also not going to judge you for judging me. And there's a different world possible. What do you like to play? And then the next stage that some people have the courage to get to is, with judgment, is bring it. Come on, you can do one. Come on, you can do one. You know, and it's not necessarily a next stage, but there's a space you get to where, rather than judgment being bigger than you realize you're way bigger than it. Because if somebody has to judge as a way of trying to get something out of you or control you or limit you, do they truly have any power? Or are they powerless, trying to get power over and trying to get power through judgment? That's what judgment is. It's not real power, it's false power.
Do you want to talk about, and I don't even know, I know there isn't really a how, but I've heard you get asked a lot, but how do I get there? Like, they seem so real, and how do I turn it up? And yeah.
Yeah, it's called access consciousness. Okay. See, wouldn't it be nice if I could just give people one sentence? But this is what you have been doing. I mean, look at it. What percentage of your energy have you put into judgment of yourself or others in the last week? Most people are like, oh no, a lot. Yeah, so how do you get there? Number one, I mean, like I said, I wish it were a one-sentence answer. I would love that. Are you kidding me? I'd go around the world shouting that one sentence. I would friggin' worldwide trips with a megaphone shouting that one sentence so we could change the world. Because if we change this, we change everything. Okay? But we've got to start with the awareness that there is a different choice. We've got to start with the awareness we've been judging, oftentimes without even realizing it. We've got to start with the awareness that because you have an awareness of something that is limited about somebody or that you would call negative, it's not necessarily a judgment. You need to ask. And that positive thing you think about somebody isn't necessarily not a judgment, because you can judge them as perfect or judge them as great or judge them as greater than you. That's a judgment. And you make yourself less in that. So recognizing that is where it starts. And then ask yourself, what would my life be like if I no longer judged? And then, what would my life be like if I were no longer the effect of anybody else's judgments? See, we judge and we buy into this whole system so that we can fit in and not be as different as we are. Because if we didn't have judgments of us, we think we would choose something bad, wrong, and terrible and kill the world. Except it's only when we judge us that we choose bad, wrong, terrible, yucky stuff. So we do it so we fit in with other people who judge. We do it because we haven't really been shown in many places there's another choice. I mean, access is one of the only things it's the only thing I've ever done that didn't have a right or wrong point of view about it. You know, and even some people that do access still do right and wrong a lot. And so people are like, well, access isn't free of judgment. I'm like, actually, access is. This person isn't. Okay? And yeah, they're working on it. They're not perfect yet. Don't judge them for that. But don't judge that they are access either, because if they're doing right and wrong, they're trying to make you wrong. If they're invalidating you, they're not doing access.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to see what access is, look at somebody who's truly living that, and then see what our point of view would be. You know, and once again, not that I'm right, but not that I'm wrong either. You know,
Yeah.
It just is. But access is one of the few things I see on the planet that doesn't function from judgment, because even, even a lot of the metaphysical stuff, it's a new religion. It's like my essential oils and my archangel are right, and my way of doing things is right, and yours is wrong. And you normal people that are not spiritual don't get it. And we spiritual people are superior to you non-spiritual people. And it's like, guys, that's the same thing. Consciousness, one of the things Access has is a definition of consciousness. And it's where everything and everyone exists, and no one and nothing is judged. Where no one and nothing is judged. And, I would love to say that's easy to get to, but, my buttons still get pushed sometimes. But what I do is, and here's the other part of this that we really need to get is, for me, what I do when my buttons get pushed is I use access tools. I ask questions like, what is this? What do I do with it? Can I change it? How do I change it? If I notice I feel like I've got a point of view about somebody else, I go, okay, so everywhere I was that, and everywhere I've done that, because you wouldn't judge anyone or anything that you hadn't been or done. And so I go, anywhere I was that or anywhere I did that, and I'll destroy and create it, and then I use a clearing statement to undo it. But I do that whenever I get triggered, or if I feel like I'm judging somebody, I use the access tools to get through it, because it's a contribution to me in my life. In other words, I actually like being happy. And judgment and happiness don't live together. And so I get over it. You could look at it and go, well, that's totally selfish. Well, maybe. But what I've noticed also is the more that I've gotten over judgments and stuck places with things and people, the more I'm able to be a contribution to more other people. See, so the idea that if you are actually happy, the idea if you're creating your life, the idea if you actually like your life, then you're somehow self-serving, self-centered, and selfish, is one of the other biggest lies that we've been told. Because the people that were doing that were doing it from the sort of the constructs of this reality we've been living, rather than doing it from a different space of possibilities. Because there's a reality and a space of possibilities that we could choose that's beyond what people are talking about as reality, beyond what people think is reality. There's always other choices. I mean, we live in an infinite universe with infinite choices. So why is it we think that we can only do judgment or this or this or this, rather than, wow, what are the infinite possibilities available? And if we started embracing that on a larger level, we all see all kinds of things that are going on the planet where we're like, this shit needs to change. But it's probably not going to change linearly, like we're told it has to happen. My sense is it's going to be changing more miraculously. As more and more and more of us get out of judgment of us, what more and more and more of us will start to embrace is the magic of us.
Yes, please.
And yes, please. Please. And can we stop hiding the magic of us? Can we stop acting like that has no value? And can we actually start going, wait a minute. Okay, if I could have anything as my life, I'd love it to be magical. What is that going to take? And how many points of view can I change? And how different am I willing to be that will allow that to occur?
You have a great quote that is, judgment is an invention designed to destroy magic and miracles.
Yes.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to say thanks to you, and I think there's a lot of gratitude in this thread, like to you and Gary Douglas for always being that and not turning it down, and just being, no matter how much judgment you guys receive or Access receives, it's amazing. I remember hearing about Access bars and going online to find out about it, and there was a little video of you and Gary on the website. And so this is before it had any access, so I'm like, I might go to this class, I don't know, what is it? And I clicked on the video, and I had a lot of judgments, like, who are these guys from California? And what is this thing called bars? But I kept asking questions, and I was like, wow, I don't know what this is, but I'm going. And it was so cool because it's been this continual shedding of judgments that I didn't even realize I had so thank you to you guys and to Access, because like you said, you don't even really know what you're living with until you start changing it. Yeah.
And that is exactly the thing, and I'm glad you brought that up, because it's exactly that. Like, I mean, for the people that know you, and you say you have judgment, people be like, what? He's one of the few people I know that doesn't seem to judge anybody, and I don't know how she does it. Like, she takes no judgment juice in the morning. I don't know what it is, But I love that, because that gives people the freedom to then recognize anywhere they are judging, it's okay.
It's okay.
See, this is the other thing, is I'm not saying judgment is wrong. And I'm not saying if you're judging, or if you have judged, or if you hold on to judgment or whatever, you're not wrong. I'm just saying there's something that might be a lot more fun for you. Because the idea to tell you that you judging or having a judgment is wrong is judgment, which is wrong. Just kidding. I was kidding about the last wrong thing. I was just kidding. But really, like, let's invite a different paradigm. Let's invite a paradigm of something way different, way beyond it, that actually includes all of us and doesn't separate us from us with our judgments, and doesn't separate us from other people with our judgments, and theirs. Let's do something different that involves all of us.
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
This is like the fastest hour so far. I feel like.
But it felt like that for you. And I'm not kidding. Did you get what I was talking about when I said at the beginning of this, I was doing exactly what we're talking about. Like, I was turning myself down.
Yeah, me too.
Which is so interesting. And I'm like, and it's no fun. I feel so linear, and I'm not having any fun, and I'm not being outrageous at all. And it's almost like what I was doing was it's so interesting, because I don't do that very often anymore. Very, very seldom anymore. It used to be like the primary thing in my life, which is part of the reason I'm bringing it up too, is because hopefully you'll get a difference in the energy between when I noticed it and changed my mind, which was when I started talking about orgasm, by the way. Because even where I was functioning from, I wasn't even going to talk about it being orgasmic, because I didn't want to provoke people's judgment or something. Like, I don't even know the what.
Opa, boa tarde.
All I knew was I was turning it down in the face of something, which, great example of what we've been doing. But I did that so much. That was my whole thing that it did. And it was why I got to the place 20 years ago where I was going to kill myself. Because I had turned it down so much based on other people's judgments that I didn't even realize they had me. I thought they liked me, okay? Which is also another story about judgment. We think it's like and love a lot of times, and it's actually judgment.